If you've been following my channel, you know that I really care about health and safety and being transparent within the construction industry. And today I want to dive into something that is always misunderstood on site, but something that genuinely matters and protects every single person that walks out onto site. Those are risk assessments and method statements, RAMS. Most people hear RAMS and just switch off. They go, oh, I can't be bothered with that stuff. Can't be bothered with all that health and safety. It's all gone too far. That's what they think. That's what they say when you get a risk assessment put in front of you. But RAMS are one of the most misunderstood, undervalued, and badly handled parts of construction. Well, they can be anyway. Today, I'm going to explain why they matter, why the industry needs to take them far more seriously. And not the industry, more the operatives that are signing them. Let me tell you something that shocks people every time. I love RAMS. Yes, I'm so sad, I know. I love RAMS more than anyone else in the construction industry. I love writing them, I love reviewing them, I love briefing people into them, the whole lot. Yes, I know I sound crazy, but I am crazy about people going home safely. That's all I care about. Now, everyone knows what usually happens. You get to site, your supervisor's there, they go, right, here you are, mate, flick through, yeah, sign it, please, and that's it. No explanation, no time to digest. Sign it, go for your induction, get out on site. And let's be honest, half the workforce in the UK are being briefed into risk assessments and method statements, and they're being briefed into it in English when English isn't their first language. They're handed a document full of critical safety information, and before they've had a chance to understand it, they're already on the tools. Most operatives just sign because that's the culture. Get it done, get on site, crack on. But here's the truth that no one talks about. Your RAMS are your insurance policy. If you follow the method that has been agreed, signed off, and reviewed, you're covered. If you do something different and you do something because the supervisor told you to, and you just want to get the job done, you're not insured. Full stop. I've seen it a couple of times. A supervisor telling a young, inexperienced operative to just get on with it. Someone who's scared to speak up. Someone who's a bit concerned about being called a pussy or scared of losing their job if they don't do as they're told. So they do it. And if something goes wrong, do you really think that supervisor's going to go, oh yeah, I told him to do it that way? No, he's going to turn around and go, why did he do that dangerous thing? Who would do that? And that's how people get blamed for trying to please the wrong person. Let me tell you about the first time that I realised RAMS were so important. I was looking out my site office window, I was watching them install some joists, and I remember thinking, looking again, going, oh my God, it looks like someone get really hurt. I was like, you come in please. Got them in the site office, dragged the folder out of the cabinet, started flicking through. Guess what? There is no method statement in the risk assessments and method statements for installing joists on a new build house. I was fairly new at housing at the time. I'd never put joists on a house. They had assessed the risks, which everyone will tell you is the legal part of risk assessments and method statements, and apparently it's the most important part. But really, how can you assess risks if you haven't done the method properly? How can you price a job properly if you haven't figured out how you're going to build it? So the method of any job is the most important thing before we even consider what the risks could be. Unfortunately, I didn't get to stay on that site for very long. I was moved to another site. Whether they actually did update their RAMS and find a safe method that didn't look like someone was going to get hurt, I really hope they did for the sake of the lads. But I never got a chance to actually see. I live my life on site as a site manager. If it doesn't look right, then it usually isn't, so speak up. I really do think that we need to start calling risk assessments and method statements and risk assessments, because as I said previously, if you don't work out the build methodology on how you're going to build it, how on earth are you ever going to figure out all the risks? But that is a conversation for another video. I write site-specific RAMS for every job that I work on at the moment. I don't just copy and paste and change the address. Every single job is thought about properly. I review my RAMS before I give them to the principal contractor. I use their review sheets and I don't just tick the boxes. I go through my document, I press Control F, I search for everything, and then I put the sections onto the review sheet of where the principal contractor can find the information that they need from the briefing sheet. It's really hard being a site manager. It's really hard being a principal contractor when you've got hundreds of sets of risk assessments and method statements to review. So I do it so that I can make it as easy as possible for them. My risk assessments and method statements average about 30 to 35 pages long. So I don't really think it's fair on the site teams for me to go, here you go, have fun. I'd rather help them if I can. And how many supervisors are briefed into the RAMS by the person that wrote them before they get to site? I think it's hardly any. And honestly, I do get why. Now I work for a subcontractor. There's so many different jobs. I do understand, and a lot of the time the risk will be the same, but every job is different. So every method on every job will be different. Everyone shies away from using computers on sites. I don't, but I can use a computer. I really do understand why people avoid them. Many supervisors get put into supervisory roles after being a trade for many years. They get thrown in the deep end and shoved a computer in their hand, and they're expected to know how to do all the paperwork without ever being taught computer skills. It really isn't their fault that no one taught them. It's really unfair, actually. So when it comes to briefing my team into RAMS and my supervisors, I make it simple for them. I brief my supervisors into my risk assessments and method statements via Microsoft Teams. I will send them an email invite, they will get it directly to their inbox, then they will log on to the Teams as themselves. I will then transcribe the meeting. I go through the RAMS step by step. I talk about the method. I will consult with them about whether they're happy with the method. They are the experts, I'm not. I'm just the person that sits in the office and does the documentation, but they're the ones actually installing it. I want them to be happy with the method that I've suggested. And if they're not happy with it, I want them to feel confident that they should be able to change it. With the transcribing, I can say my hand on my heart that I have briefed my supervisors into their RAMS. If anything does happen on that job one day, I know that I have covered myself. The last person that I briefed into a set of RAMS this way, he was like, "You're just covering your arse, aren't you?" I was like, yeah, I am, but I'm also protecting you by doing it. And that's the most important thing. RAMS should be written so clearly that my dad should be able to come to site, and he has very little construction experience, and be able to do the task safely. That's the standard. If your RAMS can't guide someone who's never done a job before, they're not RAMS, they're a tick in the box. And here's the beautiful part about RAMS now. They've got digital RAMS. They're everywhere, thank God. And the beautiful thing about digital RAMS is obviously they're in your back pocket out on site. So if you have gone through Teams with the person that wrote them, you've briefed your operative into them, and then your operatives has a copy in their mobile phone out on site that they can refer to instead of coming back to the office, I think it's invaluable, especially for young operatives that are learning the job. If you want to look at them when you're at home, I know, sorry, that's workaholic me talking. Not many people would look at risk assessments at home other than me. But if you did, if you wanted to understand the job a little bit more before you get there, so you could be more organised, so you know what materials would be, where the storage areas are, you could actually be more productive reading your risk assessments before you get to the job and understanding them better. I've worked in construction for 18 years now. I've worked with tier 1 contractors, I've worked in social housing, in new build housing, traditional timber frame, steel frame, and now I work on commercial sites. And I've even spent quite a long period of my career helping one company develop lots of software and hardware for construction companies. Now I'm back as a subcontractor, not a site manager. And I actually think it's so much harder being a subcontractor. When I was on site, I thought that was hard because I had so many multiple trades, but I only had one site. Now I'm a subcontractor and I'm running, I think we've got 6 or 8 sites on the go at the moment. They're big projects, there's a lot of moving parts, some of them we're principal contractor on. I have risk assessments on every job. My principal contractor is reviewing them and giving me comments on every job. But I feel as a subcontractor, I have more of a responsibility to do RAMS properly. As a site manager, I'd always review them, but I wouldn't necessarily understand them, and I wouldn't be the one responsible for briefing the operatives into them. So now I feel a lot more responsible. I feel like they are more important now than they ever have been. And I want to understand the job as well as my supervisors. I'm the one that's got to sign it off at the end. If I can't go to site and sign off their work, what's the point really of me being a manager? RAMS aren't just paperwork. They're not just a tick box exercise. They're not something you just sign to get on site. RAMS are how we protect ourselves. RAMS are how we make sure everyone goes home safe at the end of the day. And that is why I genuinely love them. Thanks for listening, and if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. It will really help my channel out. Share this video to someone you know or that you love that works in construction. It might genuinely protect them. And before you go, can I ask you this very important question? Do you know what systemic effects means? If you don't, please stay tuned. It will be in the next video.